Hello, and in this vlog I'm going to give you a review of the LG Optimus 4X HD, the hotly tested competitor to the HTC One X. At the time of recording this, Samsung have not yet announced their new Galaxy, which we expect to compete with both of these devices. But the LG is sort of the underdog against the highly talked about, highly promoted HTC One X. Admittedly, this is not on the market yet, and this is a pre-production sample, but it's very close to the final thing. So let's give a little bit of a rundown of this device. So it has on the front a 4.7 inch touchscreen display with a 1280 by 720 resolution. We've got the front-facing 1.3 megapixel video camera. We've got capacitive buttons down here, no physical buttons. Right on the bottom there you'll see the micro USB port for charging and data connection to a PC. You might also see a microphone. If we then take you round to the top, we've got the power button and a 3.5mm headphone jack. On one side of the device it's completely flush, there's nothing there. We do have this sort of silver bezel at the top and the bottom, which then recesses so you can see the sort of white between the two silver pieces. And then on the other side we have just the volume rocker keys at the sort of top side there. This is the white version. We're not sure at the time of recording whether we'll see the white version come to market. There'll definitely be a black version. You've then got an 8 megapixel camera with autofocus and LED flash that records in full 1080 resolution. If I just pull off the back cover here, one of the really nice things about this device is we've got a removable battery. You don't get that on the HTC One X. We've also got then a standard size SIM card slot, not a micro SIM. And then we have a micro SD memory card slot. So as standard you get 16 gig of internal memory on this device. But you can of course expand that through the micro SD card slot. So you may get a 32 gig card in there, or potentially even a 64 gig. We've not tested that, and that's a lot better than the fixed onboard memory of 32 gig, of which only 26 is available on the One X. The other thing to consider is this does have a removable 2000 milliamp hour battery, where the One X has a fixed internal battery at 1800 milliamp hours. So before I get down into the detail of the software, let's just take a look at the two devices. You can see they're very similar in terms of size. The LG footprint is almost identical, but the One X does have sort of the nicer design to it. It looks a bit more modern, it's got swooping corners, and a lot of people have said that the LG looks very reminiscent of the Samsung Galaxy S2, and I'd admit that the styling looks a little bit like it's from 2011 as opposed to 2012. But we shouldn't really let that get us down. The square design, whilst maybe not as pretty, actually for me feels a little bit more practical. It feels a little bit more robust and I wouldn't say comfortable in the hand, but it feels more secure, and I can certainly operate the device easier with one hand than I can on the One X. The sort of curved edges, whilst making it look nice, make it feel a little bit more slippy in the hand, and this feels more secure. And yes, styling is important, but at the end of the day it's about using it, and for me this actually feels more practical for everyday use. What you don't have on either of these devices is a dedicated camera button, and both have decent cameras on here. Initial impressions are that they're very similar. The HTC ImageSense is perhaps a bit more intelligent, but LG haven't let you down with options that you have when it comes to taking pictures or videos on this device. It'd be unfair to say that the LG was worse. It's just different. But you can use the volume up and down keys on the LG on the side here to actually take a picture or record video footage and actually use it essentially as a camera button, although it's not a dedicated camera button. One negative is, because of this bezeling around here, the buttons aren't as easy to press as you might like them to be. It just takes a little bit of getting used to on there. So under the device skin here, we've got full Android version 4 ice cream sandwich operating system. We've also got the NVIDIA Tegra 3 quad-core processor. Of course, it does have that one extra core for managing batteries, so it's actually a quad-core plus one really. So what you'll actually find, whilst this is quad-core performance, not all of the time are you actually going to be using all 4 cores of the device. The device will intelligently use the cores when necessary, and that will help you conserve battery life when on the go, because it is a big screen on this device, but you should get comparable battery life to the One X. At this point, I just want to bring in the Xperia S, which is another device you may consider. And, okay, it's not quad-core and doesn't have quite the same specifications, it doesn't have quite such a big screen, but when you actually look at it against the LG doesn't feel much bigger. There isn't really much difference in terms of the physical size between the two devices, considering the larger screen. And in terms of thickness, again, there isn't actually much between them. I'm using the Xperia S at the moment as my personal device. I like it. I think the screen is more usable because of the overall size, but I'm not completely taken by the extra depth that you have to the device down here, and I could easily be persuaded onto something like the LG. I used the One X and just personally found it a little bit big, and I know this device is very similar in terms of size, but the way it feels in the hand is better for me, but that's personal opinion. So okay, we've got the 3.5mm audio out there, so that's useful. So let's get a look into the software. So we've got Ice Cream Sandwich on here. One of the things I want to point out are the buttons down at the bottom here. Whilst they're capacitive, I don't know how easily you can see that. You've got a back, home and menu key, which you don't have on a lot of the newer devices like the One X. The One X has the app sort of switcher key, or the task manager. And I really like this, because if you're an old Android user coming from earlier versions of version 4, you're probably used to using that to get through to settings, and that's a really nice touch to have on the LG, albeit if it potentially feels a little bit dated. Overall performance on the device has been very good. It's fairly snappy, and over the couple of days that I've been using it, I haven't noticed any particular lag or slowdown on this device. We have run some quadrant benchmark testing on this. It's no means scientific, and it doesn't perform quite as well as the One X. However, the performance is admirable, and it'd be again unfair to really put this down as a result. The camera application, if we just go into that, you can see that there, and it's not quite the same layout as the One X and image sense, but you can toggle between the video and the standard camera, and you've got a number of settings there to enhance the functions of the camera, and of course you've got the front facing camera as well for video calling if you wish, or for taking lower resolution photos. So LG have put a few of their own sort of applications and tweaks on here. You've got NFC on here, and you've got an LG tag application. Being a final pre-production unit, I can't say if all these apps will actually come as standard on here, but I'd imagine a lot will. So you've got all the Google services. Let's just show you the phone dialer, something quite a lot of people like to actually see there. So you've got nice big buttons actually on screen for dialing. Of course, this will sync up with your Google account, Facebook, Twitter and other social media services. Let's just go to the gallery. So the resolution on this screen is very good, and the pictures that the device has taken isn't too bad at all. I just want to show you some video playback now. just take a look at that screen. It's going to be very hard to tell on this video, but my initial impressions of this device, I wasn't actually expecting much, but I was pretty stunned by the graphics on here. It gives the One X a run for its money, but the One X is better when it comes to graphics. The colours just look a bit better, the contrast ratio, but you would be by no means disappointed with the screen performance on this device. And when you put that together with the fact that you've got a removable battery and a micro SD card slot, which is important for a lot of people, I think that's important thing to consider, that it's nearly as good, and it's not like you'd feel cheated if you went for the One X, or feel hard done by if you took the LG option instead. So that's just a few of the elements there. Like I say, you've got a few tweaks from LG added on to the interface. The sound on this device I think is slightly better than the One X. Not a lot of difference. Comparable to a lot of other phones. It's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. It doesn't feel or sound really tinny or cheap, but it isn't fantastic. There are certainly devices out there that do a better job of music, but if music's your thing, you might not be opting for this device. You might have a dedicated music player. So those are a few of my initial thoughts on the LG Optimus 4X HD. Official price and availability is still to be confirmed at the time of recording this video. We expect to see it in June, but be sure to check out the Clove website, www.clove.co.uk, for more information. Thanks for watching.